On the Track is a web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
What's in this episode, Mr. John? Well, Hennis, in this episode, which is an extra special treat for you all because it goes on longer than usual, we see what happens when Graham and Richard Muirhead finally unpack the moth trap that's been sitting in the corner of my sitting room since last November. And we go back with our old friend Ian Squibbs to look at the latest news from Loch Ness. Enjoy.
I really like the old credits.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs and welcome to another episode. Hang on.
What?
What's happening over there?
Don't worry, Father, it's only Jeff the Talking Mongoose with some classic sci-fi adventures.
So what are we discovering then in Thrills Incorporated this week? Well, Barry, in Thrills Incorporated this week we will be discovering why things of distinction wear Fisher hats.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This time we're going to do it properly. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. For those of you who don't know, every Wednesday afternoon at 6:30, evening I suppose, at 6:30 for about a quarter of an hour, and every Saturday afternoon at 3 for about twice that, we bring you a miscellany, as it were, of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. What's surreality, you ask? Well, I hope this might explain. The other day, my housekeeper, the delightful and eminently lovable Miss Judy, came in and said something to me in her black country patois.
Jonathan, what have you done with that moth trap?
Well, I bought the aforementioned moth trap last November when it turned up on eBay surprisingly cheaply. It's homemade, but it seems to work fine. However, it was the size and shape of a medium-sized bucket, and because I wanted to do a unboxing video of it, it stayed getting in Judy's way for 8 months. 8 months of just cluttering up my sitting room, like so many other things clutter up my sitting room. Poor girl, she really does have a trying time putting up with us.
You two keep making a load of mess in this place for me to keep going cleaning up all the while, and I ain't having it, alright?
For those of you who didn't understand that, she was saying that Graham and I keep on making a mess in this place, and she ain't carrying having it.
And now for the great unboxing.
I had been planning to do this big unboxing for months, but I wanted to wait until Richard Muirhead was down here, number one, and until, number two, it was the right time for the larger hawk moths, which still occasionally visit the village, to be on the wing. And as well as me, Richard Muirhead and Graham, V. McQueen didn't want to be left out, and so he was listening in through the magic of my iPad.
Oh, it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Sounds like Christmas.
Yeah, well, as a cone.
Is there a bulb?
I assume that's what's in there. Can you see if there's a bulb hiding there?
Yeah. I bought it carefully because I didn't think, because
Yes.
the bloody EU stopped the import of mercury vapour bulbs. So I bought it quickly while they were still legal.
So, does this go at the bottom of the moth trap?
I got no idea.
I don't know anything
I don't know anything either, so I assume that is a I assume that mercury vapour bulb is held in that wire thing, but I'm not sure. But these traps, I can't remember. I think it's called a Skinner trap. To get a properly made Skinner trap costs about 200 quid, and I think it's cost about £38, which.
Yeah, I see.
And I was thinking, Graham.
Lose that for a minute. And,
Okay.
What I was thinking, Graham, as well, is once you put it together and you found out if it works, you could probably build one now. As long as I can go on the black market and get some.
You don't need mercury vapour bulbs, though.
They prefer them.
I would use an LED light that's been tuned to grow plants. Because that will have exactly the right frequencies.
I don't know. I wonder if you could use a Grolax bulb.
That looks good.
Or a moonlight bulb, you know, for reptiles and fish.
Shall I switch it on and test it?
Of course you can. Preferably not on the same board as this, because if it goes wrong, we don't want the whole thing to explode. But it doesn't really matter. I'm filming it, and
No, it won't have an earth, of course, but
Comes
that
on.
made Archie flinch. You must be able to detect
Mm.
a strong frequency of light that we can't, because it's not dazzling for us
no.
particularly.
It's interesting to see that although on film the whole room gets filled with a blue light, sounding like something from that song by Little Richard. Seeing as Molly dancing at the house of blue lights. But when you actually look at the bulb, you can see practically nothing. Back to the subject of hawk moths. Over the years I've recorded hummingbird hawk moths, which are of course a day-flying species, large elephant hawk moths, poplar hawk moths, and a privet hawk moth in this garden. However, in recent years, as regular viewers of this show will know, there have been a glut of foreign immigrants, particularly the striped hawk moth, coming from the southern Europe and the Mediterranean, and I would love to be able to record one of those in my garden. So this is why we're doing our best to get the moth trap up and running and operable during this particular very narrow time frame. was sweet of them to send us an egg box. Well, I've had a packet of egg boxes ready that Judy's been collecting for me for months. Ever since last November, when I first bought it.
I've still got them.
Have you had one of these before?
No, yes, but it was a different design. When you put it in, Graham, can you pick it up and hold it up so they can see?
Yeah, the thing is, the arrangement of the light is the bulb is dead centre, and so is the funnel. So the two are colliding. I need to really try and get the bulb off to one side if I can.
And Archie's finding it. He's really interested in the bulb. He obviously can see something we can't.
Well, that's not very satisfactory, but as a first approximation.
Okay. Can you pick it up so we can just have a look?
It might be making an ultrasound noise that you can't hear.
So what happens, Graham? Where does the moth fly in?
At the top through this funnel.
And it lands on the egg box at the bottom. Can we see the egg box? Archie's fascinated by it.
I'll shine a torch in there. I don't know if it's going to...
Yes, you can see that. That's the egg box at the bottom. If this works, Graham, I think you could probably do a better version of it. And you'd probably figured from what happened earlier that Miss Isabel was watching the proceedings with great interest, and she went out early evening with Graham to film him setting up the moth trap for the night on her phone.
You rolling? On. Okay, well, it's pretty wet weather, so initially we're going to set up indoors and just cautiously leave the door open and see what visitors we get coming to the moth trap. So there it is. You might like to get a close up of it as well.
Yep.
As a separate video.
That's the view from the bottom.
And to the outdoors maybe.
And so we left it for that night, and then into the day. How many different species do you think we caught?
Two.
You.
I am ready. I've got the bucket, haven't I?
So Graham, come sit down, let's have a look. Like Sir John Verner used to say, let's unpack the trunk and look at the contents. So what species do you think we're going to get, Richard?
I don't know much about species. I think we'll get some common local species.
And I can see one that, although I haven't got much zoological knowledge, looks very common to me.
Oh dear. So we haven't got this. We haven't got this amazing.
I'll take the. It's strayed off its.
Hold on. Let's have a look. See.
Off its egg cup mount. Looks to me like a.
Where is it?
On the bottom of the bucket. Look past the.
So we pick up to it. And that is the result of our great moth hunt.
I think it's a timios, isn't it, or something like that they call them.
I don't think it's a clothes moth. But I can't.
Oh well.
Hang on, there's another one. There's an and there is what I am pretty sure is a buff ermine. Come look, it's a big one.
Oh, we're dead centre.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That I believe We have a little moth that I don't know what it is, and we have got what I'm fairly certain is a buff ermine. But we will be looking after this, and I will look them both up, and we'll have to see what happens.
The moth trap didn't really have a fair trial because it was raining hard for much of the night.
Didn't you say, Graham, that there was a problem with the funnel? It's too small.
Well, if it was just made a bit,
Back camera.
if it was just made a bit bigger.
Is there any reason why it can't
Chop
be just...
through there and it made bigger moths could get through the gap then?
Yeah, because what I'm hoping to do is to find out what migratory hawk moths there are around. But we did catch a reasonable sized arcticid, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you two want to? We don't film it, but you two go and let them have their freedom. Well, the smaller of the two insects turned out not even to be a moth. It's something with the charming name of a sewer fly. A tiny insect which are often mistaken for moths and otherwise sometimes known as moth flies because of the resemblance. I was a bit wary of it being a moth all along, but I wasn't sure what it was, but now we know. And the second, the one moth that we did catch in our brand spanking new homemade moth trap, it was, as I had originally suspected, a buff ermine. These are charming and beautiful little moths that I have seen all over this part of North Devon ever since I first came here. In fact, when I was a boy, I used to be really excited to go up to the school bus in the mornings because you could see on the white wall, the whitewashed wall of the village shop, where moths would have landed in the night, and buff ermines were one of the ones that I was always happy to see. One of the interesting things about buff ermines is they have such a wide range of appearances. They are buff in colour with black spots, but the black spots can appear in lots of different patterns and are sometimes, like in the one that we caught the other night, almost entirely absent. It is a bit disappointing that we only caught 2 moths and one wasn't even a moth, but we will be putting the moth trap out when the rains end, and Graham and I will let you know what transpires.
And now, for people like me who think that moths are stupid.
Ian, it's so nice to have you back. Me and Archie have both been missing you. So, what are we talking about today?
Well, hello there, John. It's good to be back on CFZ TV and take a view of things from the fringe of reality. So, today we're going to have a news roundup and catch up with the latest goings-on at Loch Ness and see if there's been any sign of the monster and other stuff. So, let's kick off with the latest photo of the elusive monster with the background on it. So, on the 15th of June, Etienne Kamel, a pharmacist from Lyon, and his wife Elaine were visiting Loch Ness and claimed to have spotted a 65-foot-long dark shape moving just beneath the surface of the water for several minutes. And this was on the west side of the loch near Invermoriston. Not one to miss an opportunity, Kamel photographed the creature. So without further ado, John, let's have a look at this photo.
And I am looking at it.
And there we go. So,
Yeah.
wow, it's huge. Eh? It's pretty big.
I think that is a remarkable photograph, but I think it's a remarkable photograph, but I think it's a remarkable photograph that I have no idea of what it's of.
Whatever it is, it's bigger than any known species in the loch.
Oh,
giant,
by some
yes,
measures of magnitude.
uh, a giant sterile eel, perhaps.
What's that
Um,
wonderful?
hmm. We mustn't rule out, though, that it could be a surviving plesiosaur that lives in the loch, and a big one at that. So that's what we got there.
Or it's a whale that's been back
Hmm.
engineered using um, technology from the Roswell crash. You don't know.
Yeah, could be that. Um, if it was moving, though, like the witness said it was, some film footage would have been nice. So I'm sure he would have had that function on his phone as well. Um, Kamel said, I am not, sorry, Kamel said, I am a man of science, so I never believed that the Loch Ness monster was a prehistoric animal. But when I was taking the picture, I saw this long, long shadow. I called my wife over, and we saw the shadow move. I thought maybe it was a cloud, but there was none, or a boat, but none were near. There were small waves, like something was moving. It was 15 to 20 meters long and was about 150 meters away. It was quite strange, and then it disappeared. We could not tell if it was an animal, but there was something moving under the water. I have never seen such things in lakes before. So the plot thickens. What it reminded me of, though, was a school of bluefish, like the one that Chief Brody mistakes for the shark in Jaws 2, and then he runs down the beach, firing his gun, causing havoc amongst bathers, if you're familiar with that film. But yeah, so there you go. Make of it what you will.
Well, it does look like it has a bow wave.
Hmm.
It look it looks like a whale, but it's still obviously Loch Ness.
Exactly.
And it's interesting when you think of the two film producers from Geordieland who saw something in the lake last year,
Yes.
August, I think, last year. What they described sounded massively like a whale.
Yes.
But could a whale live undetected? Because whales will have to spout. Could it
Exactly.
live undetected in the peaty waters of Loch Ness? It certainly couldn't swim up and down the River Ness.
No, unless it navigates its way through the various locks. So it would have to swim up to the lock, wait for the lock keeper to open the lock, and then swim through with the barges. But yes, and even if it was a plesiosaur, that would still have to come up for air regularly. So yeah.
And the River Ness is too bloody shallow. It goes through
Mm.
the Inverness town centre, for God's sake.
Um, but we mustn't forget that the first ever sighting of the Loch Ness monster was made in the River Ness by St. Columbia in 500 AD, I believe. So yeah, so there is history there. But yes, a mysterious body of water, and I don't think we're ever going to find out the truth in our lifetimes anyway. Right, let's move on to the next item on the agenda.
I would say that one very interesting photograph. It's not
Mm-hmm.
amorphous blob in the middle distance. It is something.
Mm-hmm.
Lord only knows what the something is. So let's move on.
Yes. Okay, then next item then. We have some film footage of the monster, and that sounds more like it. So let's begin. On the 27th of June, Ian O'Fadhagan was watching the online Loch Ness webcams when he spotted a mysterious presence making its way through the water. So let's have a look at the film and see what we think.
I have always said that I think Owen O'Fadigan is a I'm sure that he is totally believing in what he shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm afraid, to me, most of the pictures that he's come up with, which are the aforementioned amorphous blobs, are worse than useless. Not. But I'm certain that he does these things in good faith. However, if you look at this video, and I'm looking at the Scottish Sun sped up version, it does
Could it be
various places as if there's more than one. There's one place where there's this creature moving along, and then it's still there, and there's something else thing going along.
Well, could be two monsters, but could be fish, otter, bird, or plesiosaur. Don't rule that out ever. But it doesn't seem to be a big object. So I'm not too sure. I'm going with junior plesiosaur, perhaps, swimming just below the surface in pursuit of a fish, maybe. One thing though, I do like the way, if you look at the end of the video, it changes direction, which is a good, nice touch. Shows it's just not a wave or something. It's like kind of gets to like a bush, and then it just turns. It's going to the left, and it turns to the right. So it's definitely a living presence below the surface, causing the wake. So,
but I think
yep.
Mr. Fadigan deserves to be congratulated for this one.
Exactly, yes.
Whatever it is very, very interesting. Well done, Owen. And
exactly.
By the way, whoever watched this, will you email me? Because I would like to interview you, and so would Ian.
Exactly. Because he has had, Owen has had 14 webcam sightings of the monster, so I believe, from what I could find out online. So yeah, it'd be nice to meet him and see what he thinks, and one for the future, hopefully. Okay, all right then. So we've looked at the latest photo and video from Loch Ness. Let's check out the next item, what we've got. So bit of background. So I went to Loch Ness last year, and whilst there, I paid a visit to the Loch Ness Centre in Drumnadrochit. It's the main Loch Ness museum and covers the story of the monster, and is housed in the building that was the former Drumnadrochit Hotel. And we can see the building in its pre-museum days in the next photo there. If we just show that one, John, that's picture number 3. There it is. So yeah,
with a nice Ford Anglia at the front.
It is an old one. It's got fins on the back as well, isn't it? So like the Batmobile. But yeah, nice building. Yeah,
I think all cars should have fins.
Yeah, exactly. All right then. So that's the Drumnadrochit Hotel in its hotel days before it was a museum. So now then, in 1933, the manager of the Drumnadrochit Hotel was a lady by the name of Aldi Mackay, and on the 15th of April 1933, Mrs. Mackay and her husband were driving along the Lochside Road towards Inverness. As they drove, she glanced across the calm waters of the loch towards Alduri Castle and saw something in the water. She said it was black, wet, with water rolling off it. It went in a circle, round and down. She yelled to her husband, "Stop, the beast!" Her husband didn't see the beast, but he did see the large disturbance of water that the creature caused as it submerged. Mrs. Mackay's sighting was reported in the Inverness Courier on the 2nd of May 1933 by Alex Campbell, the water bailiff for Loch Ness and part-time journalist. It is widely regarded as the first modern sighting of a monster in the loch. So yeah, so that's fitting that the building that houses the museum all these years later has such a close connection with the mystery. So anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed the museum, and if you're familiar with the mystery, you'll recognise exhibits such as the research boat John Murray, which was used for sonar scanning the loch in the early 80s, and the yellow submarine called Viperfish that was used to search for the monster in 1969. My favourite exhibits were the glass-bottom boat called Pequod and Adrian Shine's underwater observation chamber, Mashan, both used to search for Morag, the Loch Marah monster. And don't tell anyone this, but I prefer Morag to Nessie. I think it's a better monster. But anyway, so I thought the museum was great, and it gave a comprehensive overview of the mystery with first-class exhibits. However, my only criticism was that it was rather run down, and it did look a bit neglected. And in fact, some parts of it were held together by masking tape, and I'm not making that up either. That's true. Opposite the museum is a pond with an impressive full-size model of Nessie floating on it, and even that needed some attention. And we can see the following clip I took of that model. So we'll have a quick look at that and see what it looks like.
That's a great pity, because I was really impressed by the big fiberglass.
Well,
Glad that it's
as we can see, poor Nessie, you can even see a hole in the side of her fiberglass body. So anyway, but there was good news this year when it was announced that there was going to be a much needed £1.5 million investment to refurbish the museum to coincide with the 90th anniversary of the Oldie Mackay sighting. So after being closed for most of the year, whilst undergoing its facelift, the new improved museum opened on the 10th of June, and we can see some photos of the new plush exterior and interior. If we just have a look at the next photo there's the exterior of the building there, complete with new signage.
Golly, that's better, isn't it?
It's nice, yes. And if we go to the next picture there, I believe that's the opening day of the museum with all the prominent people mingling round, and it looks nice there, nice and clean.
Unfortunately, I can't recognise any of the prominent people.
You will in the next photo, John, because look where it is. Go to the next photo. There's Steve Feltham entertaining some guests, and above his head we've got a nice Nessie lampshade, so maybe you can buy one of those from the gift shop. So yeah, that's that one. And so yeah, looks a good day. Everyone was enjoying themselves. And if we go to the next part, there's a shot there of the exhibition itself, and the spherical object on the right is actually Mashan, which Adrian Shine used in his underwater search for Morag. So there we go. You can actually see Mashan there, and it must have been quite a squeeze getting into that. And to be honest, I don't think I would get in it, especially in light of recent events. So, so if you're visiting Loch Ness, the Loch Ness Centre is a must. Yeah.
That last photograph looks very psychedelic, doesn't it?
It is. This gives you the impression you're underwater there, under the loch. So that's what it's nice. But yeah, it looks nice. It looks nice and new. And yeah, when I go next, I'm definitely going back. So that's the new Loch Ness exhibition. So have a look if you're in the area. Okay.
I give you Adrian Shine's email so you can catch up with him as well.
I would like to meet him, yes. I'd like to. I haven't met him. I'd like to, but that would be good, yeah, for when I'm there next time. I'd like to meet Steve Feltham as well. And I did go to his caravan when I was there, his mobile home, and it was all locked up and shut, and he wasn't in. So that was a shame. But anyway.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
And Unfortunately, I was in the BBC bar drinking with Brian Blessed, and I don't think I gave my best impression.
I'm sure you had a good time, and I'm sure he did as well. But anyway, good. Well, okay, on to the final item of the news roundup. And okay, then there's an interesting group you can find on Facebook called Loch Ness Exploration. And it's a group of researchers who work with the Loch Ness Centre and carry out expeditions to find the monster several times a year. So this year they have had expeditions in January, April and May. And they have one coming up in August. So, and they're looking for volunteers to join them. So we can see an advert for this. So if we go on to the next shot there, we've got the advert there. Looks pretty legit. And you can see on the advert pictures of the various monster hunters over the years on the top half there, including Dinsdale, Ted Holliday, who tried to exorcise the monster with the assistance of a priest who looked like Captain Mainwaring from Dad's Army. And yeah, if you could see that. And on the bottom right there is our favourite monster hunter and petrol bomber, none other than Frank Searle. So that's good. But yeah, it reads as follows, though. I'll read it out. Volunteers wanted. Join us for a 3-day expedition. We would be grateful for your support. 25th, 26th and 27th of August 2023. Loch Ness Centre and LNE working together to solve the great mystery of Loch Ness. And there's an email address for anyone interested. And you can see it there, lochnessexploration@outlook.com. Or I suppose you could message them on their Facebook page as well if you're interested. Yeah, so
because they are allied to the Loch Ness Centre.
Yeah.
Good endorsement.
Yeah. So, but maybe it'll be like the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau of the 1960s. But Frank Searle described as hippie-type guys and girls getting together, shacked up, and smoking pot. So that was what he said about it. So pretty good.
Well, sounds great to me.
That's right down my street, that is. But, you know, let's see. I would like to attend, but I can't make this one. But hopefully I can go on a future expedition with them. That would be good. So there you go. That's all the latest news from Loch Ness. Thank you and good night.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And there's the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little studio, asks me to remind you all, always press the notification bell, otherwise you'll never find out when the next show's going to be. And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it? And so, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the end of another episode. It was quite a fraught episode because up until about 20 minutes ago I'd completely lost the Ian Squibbs Loch Ness piece, and as you've now watched it you would agree with me that that would have been an awful pity. But I didn't lose it, I just renamed it and put it in the wrong place because I'm an idiot. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's helped me with this episode, and there's quite a few of you this time. It's Richard Muirhead, it's Graham Inglis, it's Miss Isabel, it's Mr. McCrinnan, it's my producer Louis, and it's special guest Ian Squibbs. I don't think I've missed anybody out. Oh yeah, Richard Freeman as well. I don't think I've missed anybody else out, and if I have, will just inundate me with abusive emails. I'm going to be back on Wednesday. What are we going to be talking about on Wednesday? I've got no idea because I haven't done it yet. And I'll be back on Saturday. What am I going to be talking about on Saturday? I don't know, but probably me and Miss Isabel are going to be recording it either before or during the weekend because I am running out of time. But I do know that Ian Squibbs will be back for part of it.
John, on behalf of young people everywhere, I would like to point out that you're using exclusionary language, telling us what you're doing on a Wednesday and on a Saturday. You're not accounting for people with time blindness.
Louis, what is time blindness?
Time blindness is an unrecognised condition that's not recognised by any major medical body, but it's very real, and the only reason it isn't recognised is discrimination. Time blindness is when people lose track of time and or don't have a watch, and therefore can't turn up to, normal functions on the right day of the week or at the right time, and therefore need special consideration for things like employment.
You must be kidding me. No, I've got a horrible idea you're not kidding me. Time is waiting in the wings. It thinks of senseless things. It's something or other is you and me. And so, are you ready, McCrinnan? If you're going to be there watching the show, and I'm going to be sitting around the place doing the live chat and playing with the dog and eating biscuits and doing all the other stuff I normally do. Are you ready, Mr. McCrinnan? I'll be seeing you.